The command chamber of the Galactic Empire's flagship, the Dominion of Stars, was a masterpiece of alien engineering, its walls alive with shifting constellations that mirrored the galaxy outside. At the center of the room, seated on a throne of obsidian and light, Emperor Kale Varyan regarded his advisors with a steely gaze. "Our intelligence confirms that Earth has rejected our ultimatum," he said, his voice resonating with authority. "Their refusal to surrender leaves us no choice but to proceed with an invasion." There was a murmur of agreement among the council, but one voice rose above the rest, a voice aged with wisdom and tempered by battle. "Majesty," said General Tarex, his scarred visage a testament to decades of warfare. His scales, dulled with age, glimmered faintly under the chamber's ethereal glow. "I must implore you to reconsider. Humanity is not an enemy to be underestimated." The room fell silent. Tarex was a legend among the Empire's military elite, his victories spanning countless campaigns. Yet his words were met with skepticism, the younger officers exchanging doubtful glances. "General," Kale said, his tone measured but firm, "you speak as if these humans pose a genuine threat. Our fleet is unparalleled. Our soldiers are bred for war. What could this primitive species possibly achieve against the might of the Empire?" Tarex straightened, his gaze unwavering. "I have faced humanity before," he said. "During the Gavorian incursion, I fought alongside their forces. They are adaptable, resourceful, and above all, relentless. Their tactics defy conventional logic, and their resilience is unmatched. If we march on Earth, we will not face an army. We will face a nation united by survival." A young commander scoffed. "You speak as though they are invincible. They are fragmented, their technology inferior. What hope could they have against our dominance?" Tarex turned to the commander, his expression one of weary patience. "Hope is humanity's greatest weapon. It is not their technology you should fear, but their ingenuity. They will not fight us in open battle. They will strike from the shadows, cripple our supply lines, turn our strengths into weaknesses. I have seen it before, and I warn you now, it will happen again." Kale's eyes narrowed. "Enough," he said, his voice cold. "Your caution is noted, General, but the decision has been made. Humanity will kneel before the Empire, or it will burn." Tarex inclined his head, though his heart was heavy. He had done his duty, but he knew the arrogance of youth and power would not heed his warnings. As the council dispersed, he remained in the chamber, staring at the constellation-strewn walls. "They will not kneel," he whispered to himself, "and we are not prepared for what comes next." Weeks later, the Empire's fleet descended upon Earth with the precision of a well-oiled machine. Cities fell under the shadow of their warships, and the skies burned with the fury of orbital bombardments. But the resistance came not in the form of grand armies or towering war machines. It came in whispers, in sabotage, in the relentless, invisible hand of guerrilla warfare. Supply convoys vanished without a trace. Communication networks crumbled under the weight of cyber attacks. Elite units sent to secure key locations found themselves ambushed at every turn, their foes striking from the shadows before melting into the terrain. Tarex watched from the command deck of the Dominion, his warnings manifesting before his eyes. Reports poured in of entire battalions rendered ineffective by attrition and demoralization. The humans were not fighting to win, they were fighting to outlast, to exhaust, to make the Empire's victory too costly to bear. In a war room filled with holographic displays of devastation and confusion, the young commander who had dismissed Tarex's warnings now stood pale and shaken. "How are they doing this?" he asked, his voice trembling. "We have superior firepower, superior numbers, but not superior resolve," Tarex interrupted, his tone grim. "This is what I tried to tell you. Humanity thrives in adversity. They are not fighting for conquest or glory, they are fighting for their survival, their home. And that makes them the most dangerous enemy of all." Kale's frustration boiled over. "Then tell me, General," he snapped, "how do we defeat them?" Tarex met the Emperor's gaze, his expression unyielding. "By understanding that we cannot. The only path forward is to end this war before it consumes us all." Kale's fist slammed onto the table. "We do not retreat," he growled. "We do not surrender. If humanity will not bow, then we will break them." As the Emperor's decree echoed through the chamber, Tarex felt a pang of sorrow. He had seen the cost of such hubris before, and he knew that the Empire was hurtling toward a lesson it would not soon forget. The war that followed was unlike any the Empire had ever waged. Earth's forces refused to engage in the grand battles the Empire's military was designed for. Instead, they became phantoms in the shadows, striking where the Empire was most vulnerable and then vanishing into the landscape before retaliation could arrive. Every supply convoy that attempted to reinforce the Empire's occupation forces became a gamble. The humans had weaponized the terrain itself, itself, turning dense forests, sprawling urban ruins, and even the planet's oceans into traps. Convoys were ambushed by hidden explosives and attacked by swift, heavily armed units that vanished as quickly as they appeared. On one fateful night, a convoy carrying critical rations and medical supplies for an Imperial forward base was intercepted in the Rocky Mountains. As the convoy wound through the jagged terrain, a deafening explosion erupted from a cliffside above, raining debris onto the lead vehicles. The column came to a screeching halt, and within moments, a coordinated assault from unseen assailants plunged the scene into chaos. Soldiers leapt from their transports, firing blindly into the darkness as shadows danced around them. The attackers moved like ghosts, exploiting every inch of the terrain to sow confusion and destruction. By the time reinforcements arrived, the convoy was gone, its supplies seized, and the remaining troops demoralized. Reports of similar incidents flooded the Dominion. Every map of Earth's supply routes became a web of red zones, areas too dangerous to traverse. Imperial commanders found themselves paralyzed, unable to deliver reinforcements or supplies without incurring devastating losses. In the war room, the tension was palpable. Holographic displays of Earth showed a planet that refused to submit, its resistance fracturing the Empire's carefully laid plans. "This is unsustainable," one officer said, his voice trembling. "We're hemorrhaging resources. At this rate, we won't be able to maintain our occupation, let alone subdue the humans." Emperor Kale paced the room, his frustration boiling over. "Then find a way to break them," he demanded. "If they hide in the shadows, drag them into the light. If they thrive on sabotage, cut off their means to fight." General Tarex, standing at the edge of the room, finally spoke. "Majesty, the problem is not their tactics. It is our arrogance. We assumed they would fight on our terms, but they have rewritten the rules of engagement. If we continue down this path, we will lose, not because we are weak, but because we refuse to adapt." Kale turned on him, his eyes blazing. "Are you suggesting we surrender?" "I am suggesting we negotiate," Tarex replied evenly. "Humanity has shown that it will not be broken. The more we press them, the stronger their resolve becomes. If we continue this war, it will cost us far more than we can afford to pay." Kale sneered. "You speak of cost as though it matters. The Empire's power is absolute. We cannot allow one insignificant planet to challenge that truth." Terex's expression hardened. "Majesty, power without wisdom is a liability. I have seen empires crumble under the weight of their own hubris. Do not let ours be one of them." Kale said nothing, his jaw tightening as he turned away. The room was silent save for the hum of the holographic displays, each one a testament to the Empire's faltering grip on Earth. Outside the war room, the resistance continued to evolve. Human ingenuity turned every setback into an opportunity. When Imperial forces began deploying drones to patrol occupied territories, Earth's engineers developed countermeasures, scrambling the drone signals and sending them crashing to the ground. When supply lines became too dangerous to traverse by land, the resistance utilized civilian ships and submarines to transport essential goods under the cover of darkness. The human spirit, Tarex realized, was an indomitable force. Every act of defiance, every victory, no matter how small, became a rallying cry for the planet's inhabitants. And for every day that the Empire's forces remained bogged down in the quagmire of Earth, the cracks in its facade of invincibility grew wider as the weeks turned into months. The Empire's inability to secure a decisive victory began to take its toll. Reports of unrest in distant colonies reached the Dominion, whispers of rebellion fueled by the news of Earth's defiance. The once unshakable foundation of the Galactic Empire trembled under the weight of its overreach. On Earth, the resistance intensified its efforts. Leaders from diverse backgrounds, scientists, soldiers, engineers, and even artists, came together to coordinate the fight. They were united by a single, unyielding purpose: to protect their home and ensure that the Empire's occupation would never take root. In a hidden command center deep beneath the Appalachian Mountains, a council of resistance leaders reviewed the latest intelligence. The holographic map before them displayed a sprawling network of Imperial supply lines, each marked with potential targets. "We've crippled their logistics in the Northern Hemisphere," said Colonel Elena Vasquez, a former military strategist turned resistance leader. "If we focus on their southern deployments, we can force them to overextend and divide their forces." Dr. Amir Patel, a cyber warfare specialist, nodded. "I've been analyzing their communication protocols. With the right disruption, we can create chaos across their command structure. It won't take much, just enough to amplify their internal frustrations." From the shadows, a grizzled veteran named Marcus Kane spoke up. "We've hit them hard, but we can't get complacent. They're still dangerous, and if we underestimate them, we'll pay the price." The room fell silent as the leaders absorbed absorbed his words. The stakes were high, and every decision carried the weight of countless lives. Meanwhile, aboard the Dominion, Tar-Rex watched as the Empire's once pristine fleet began to show signs of wear. The ships that had descended upon Earth with overwhelming force now carried scars from countless skirmishes, scorch marks from ambushes, hull breaches from sabotage, and the weariness of crews pushed to their limits. Despite his warnings, the Empire persisted in its futile campaign. Kale's determination to crush Earth had become an obsession, blinding him to the reality of their situation. Tar-Rex, ever the pragmatist, knew that the only path forward was one of diplomacy, but his counsel fell on deaf ears. In a rare moment of candor, Tar-Rex confronted Kale in the Emperor's private chamber. The room, adorned with trophies of conquest and relics of power, was a stark contrast to the growing desperation within the Empire's ranks. "Majesty," Tar-Rex said, his voice steady but firm, "this war is unsustainable. Our forces are stretched thin, our resources depleted, and our morale eroded. Continuing down this path will only lead to ruin." Kale turned to face him, his expression a mask of defiance. "You underestimate the strength of the Empire," he said. "We have endured wars, rebellions, and betrayals. This is no different." "It is different," Tar-Rex replied. "Humanity has shown us that victory is not guaranteed. They have turned our strengths against us, exploiting our arrogance and rigidity. If we do not adapt, we will fail." Kale's eyes narrowed. "Then what would you have me do? Surrender? Grovel before a primitive species? I would have you recognize that strength is not measured by domination," Tar-Rex said. "It is measured by wisdom, by the ability to change course when the path ahead leads to destruction." For a moment, Kale said nothing, his gaze fixed on the constellation-strewn walls of his chamber. Then, with a dismissive wave, he turned away. "Your counsel is noted, General. Now leave me." Tar-Rex inclined his head, though his heart was heavy. He knew that Kale's pride would be the Empire's undoing. Back on Earth, the Resistance achieved a breakthrough. Using data intercepted from Imperial communications, they uncovered the location of a critical supply depot hidden in the Amazon rainforest. The depot served as a hub for distributing resources to the Empire's forces across the southern hemisphere. Its destruction would deal a devastating blow to their operations. The mission was risky, but the Resistance knew it was worth the cost. A team of elite operatives, led by Marcus Kane and Elena Vasquez, infiltrated the depot under the cover of night. Armed with stolen Imperial technology and Earth's own ingenuity, they executed a coordinated assault that left the facility in ruins. The success of the mission sent shockwaves through the Empire. Kale, enraged by yet another setback, demanded retribution. But with each passing day, the Empire's grip on Earth grew weaker, its forces mired in a conflict they could not win. Tar-Rex, watching from the sidelines, felt a mixture of vindication and sorrow. He had foreseen this outcome, yet his warnings had been ignored. The Empire's arrogance had led them into a war they could not win, and the cost would be measured not only in resources but in lives and legacy. The destruction of the supply depot in the Amazon was a tipping point. The Resistance's victory emboldened their efforts, while the Empire's forces, already stretched thin, began to fracture under the pressure. Reports of desertion among Imperial troops became common, the once unified armada now plagued by whispers of dissent and disillusionment. Among those still loyal to the Empire, frustration turned to desperation. Commanders clashed over strategies, their confidence eroded by a war that defied their expectations. Kale's demands for immediate victories only deepened the divisions within their ranks. On Earth, the Resistance capitalized on the Empire's unraveling. Dr. Amir Patel's cyber warfare team launched a bold operation to infiltrate the Empire's primary communication hub. Using a combination of Earth's technology and salvaged Imperial systems, they devised a virus capable of disrupting the Empire's command structure. The operation, codenamed Silent Storm, was a resounding success. Within hours of the virus's deployment, the Empire's fleet was thrown into chaos. Ships lost contact with their commanders, supply routes were misdirected, and vital orders were delayed or garbled. The confusion spread like wildfire, leaving the Empire vulnerable to a series of coordinated strikes by the Resistance. For Tar-Rex, the events unfolding around him were a grim vindication of his warnings. He spent his days reviewing the mounting reports of failure, his heart heavy with the knowledge that the Empire's downfall was as much a result of its arrogance as it was of humanity's resilience. One evening, as he walked the dimly lit corridors of the Dominion, Tar-Rex encountered a young officer who had once been among the most vocal critics of his council. The officer, his face lined with exhaustion, approached Tar-Rex with a hesitant expression. "General," the officer began, his voice strained, "I was wrong to doubt you. Everything you warned us about, it's all happening. Is there any way to salvage this. Tarex regarded the officer with a mixture of empathy and resolve. The only way forward is to end this war, he said. Pride has led us to this point, but it is humility that will save us. The Emperor must be made to see reason, or the Empire will crumble. The officer nodded, his gaze downcast. Do you think he'll listen? Tarex's silence was answer enough. Meanwhile, on the surface, the resistance prepared for what they believed could be the final phase of their campaign. Marcus Kane and Elena Vasquez led a series of daring strikes against the Empire's remaining strongholds, each operation meticulously planned to maximize impact and minimize losses. In one particularly audacious mission, a resistance team infiltrated the Dominion itself. Disguised as defectors, they gained access to the ship's interior and planted devices designed to disable its critical systems. The operation was a testament to humanity's ingenuity, their ability to turn even the Empire's strongest assets against them. The infiltration was successful, though not without cost. As the devices detonated, the Dominion was plunged into disarray. Key systems failed, leaving the flagship vulnerable and its crew scrambling to regain control. For Tarex, the moment was bittersweet. He watched from the command deck as the ship's defenses faltered, his mind racing with the implications. The Empire's greatest symbol of power was now a liability, its presence on Earth a testament to their failure. In a final act of defiance, Tarex made his way to the Emperor's chamber. Kale, surrounded by the opulence of his throne room, seemed impervious to the chaos unfolding around him. Majesty, Tarex said, his voice firm, the time has come to face the truth. This war is lost. Continuing it will only bring more suffering to humanity and to our own people. Kale's gaze hardened. You dare suggest I surrender? Do you not see the strength of the Empire? I see an empire crumbling under the weight of its own hubris, Tarex replied. I see soldiers who have lost faith, colonies on the brink of rebellion, and a foe who has turned our arrogance into their advantage. If you truly wish to preserve the Empire, you must end this war. For a moment, Kale said nothing, his expression unreadable. Then, with a slow nod, he rose from his throne. You speak as though the Empire's survival depends on mercy, he said. But mercy is a weakness. If we falter now, we invite rebellion across the stars. Majesty, Tarex said, his tone unyielding. Mercy is not weakness, it is strength. Humanity has shown us that resolve does not come from fear, but from hope. If we are to endure, we must learn from them. Kale's response was cut short by a sudden explosion that rocked the ship. The Resistance's infiltration had reached its climax, the Dominion trembling under the weight of its own failures. Alarms blared, and the once imposing command chamber was bathed in the flickering glow of emergency lights. As chaos engulfed the flagship, Tarex felt a surge of resolve. The Empire's future, precarious as it was, rested on the choices made in this moment. Whether they would learn from their mistakes or fall to their pride remained to be seen. The explosions aboard the Dominion marked a turning point in the war, the Empire's flagship now a symbol of its vulnerability. As emergency crews scrambled to contain the damage, resistance forces coordinated their next moves with precision and determination. On the surface, the Resistance's leadership convened to assess their progress. The destruction of the Dominion systems had thrown the Empire's operations into disarray, and reports indicated that morale among Imperial forces was at an all-time low. This is our chance, Colonel Vasquez said, her tone resolute. If we press now, we can force them to withdraw. The Empire's strength lies in its image of invincibility, and we've shattered that image. It's time to finish what we started. Marcus Kane, ever the pragmatist, nodded in agreement. They're on the ropes, but we can't underestimate them. A cornered animal is at its most dangerous. We need to strike decisively and carefully. As plans were set in motion, the Resistance's cyber warfare teams launched a final wave of attacks, targeting the Empire's remaining communication networks. The virus deployed during Silent Storm had already sown chaos, but the new offensive was designed to cripple their coordination entirely. Aboard the Dominion, the situation grew increasingly dire. General Tarex, ever the voice of reason, took command of the ship's damaged systems, rallying the crew to maintain order. His actions earned him the respect of even those who had once doubted him, his calm under pressure a stark contrast to the growing desperation of Emperor Kale. In the Emperor's chamber, Kale paced furiously, his once imposing presence diminished by the weight of his failures. They dare defy us, he muttered, his voice laced with bitterness. "They dare humiliate the Empire." "Majesty," Tarex said, stepping into the chamber, "we have reached the tipping point. The resistance has outmaneuvered us at every turn. If we continue this war, it will not end in victory. It will end in collapse." Kale turned to face him, his expression a mix of rage and desperation. "You would have me bow to them? Admit defeat to a species so far beneath us? I would have you preserve what remains of the Empire," Tarex replied, his tone unwavering. "Surrender is not a sign of weakness. It is an acknowledgement of reality. Humanity has earned our respect, and if we are to survive, we must find a way to coexist." Kale's gaze faltered, the fire in his eyes dimming. For the first time, the weight of his pride seemed to give way to the reality of their situation. He sank into his throne, his shoulders slumping as the gravity of his choices settled over him. "Send a message to the resistance," he said at last, his voice heavy with resignation. "Tell them we are prepared to discuss terms." The decision sent shockwaves through the Empire's ranks, the prospect of surrender unthinkable to many. But as the news spread, it became clear that it was the only viable path forward. The resistance, wary but resolute, agreed to meet with Imperial representatives to negotiate the terms of a ceasefire. The meeting took place on neutral ground, a remote location in the Swiss Alps chosen for its seclusion and security. General Tarex led the Empire's delegation, his presence a symbol of the Empire's willingness to find common ground. Opposite him, Colonel Vasquez and Marcus Kane represented Earth, their resolve evident in their every word and gesture. The negotiations were tense, each side wary of the other's intentions. But as the days wore on, a tentative agreement began to take shape. The Empire would withdraw its forces from Earth, renounce its claims of sovereignty over the planet, and provide reparations for the destruction caused during the occupation. In return, Earth would not pursue retribution against Imperial personnel and would open channels for diplomatic dialogue. The ceasefire was signed under the watchful eyes of both delegations, a fragile but significant step toward peace. As the Empire's fleet began its withdrawal, the resistance celebrated their hard-won victory, their unity and resilience having prevailed against overwhelming odds. For Tarex, the end of the war was bittersweet. He had fought to prevent the conflict from spiraling out of control, but the cost had been immense. As he prepared to depart Earth, he met with Vasquez and Kane one final time. "You have my respect," he said, his voice filled with genuine admiration. "Humanity's strength lies not in its weapons, but in its spirit. I hope the Empire will learn from this experience, and I hope we never have to face each other like this again," Vasquez replied. "But if we do, know that we'll be ready." Tarex nodded, a faint smile crossing his scarred face. "I would expect nothing less." As the Empire's ships disappeared into the void, Earth began the long process of rebuilding. The scars of the war were deep, but the resilience that had carried them through the conflict also carried them forward. Communities came together to restore what had been lost, their shared determination a testament to the strength that had defied an empire. And though the war had ended, its lessons endured. Humanity's ingenuity and resolve had reshaped the galaxy's perception of Earth, proving that even the mightiest forces could be challenged by those who refused to yield. For Tarex, the experience left an indelible mark, his admiration for humanity tempered by the hope that the Empire would one day rise above its arrogance. In the quiet aftermath, as Earth's people looked to the stars with renewed confidence, one truth remained clear. The battle for their home had not just been a fight for survival, it had been a declaration of who they were and who they would become. In the years following the ceasefire, Earth's victory over the Galactic Empire became a defining moment in the annals of interstellar history. The planet, once seen as a minor player in the cosmic theater, was now regarded with a mixture of respect and caution. Its resilience had not only secured its survival, but had also reshaped the galaxy's balance of power. On Earth, the scars of the war served as reminders of the price of freedom. Cities rebuilt from rubble became symbols of human determination, while memorials honoring those who had fallen stood as solemn testaments to their sacrifice. The unity forged in the crucible of conflict endured, guiding humanity toward a future shaped by collaboration and innovation. For the Galactic Empire, the aftermath of the war brought profound changes. The humiliation of their defeat forced a reckoning within their ranks. Formerly unquestioned doctrines of dominance and conquest were challenged, and a growing faction within the Empire began advocating for reform. General Tarex, once seen as a relic of an older era, emerged as a key figure in this movement. His warnings during the war, once dismissed as defeatist, were now hailed as prescient. Tarex's call for humility and adaptation resonated with a new generation of leaders who sought to rebuild the empire on principles of diplomacy and cooperation. One of Tarex's most significant achievements was the establishment of the Galactic Accord, a coalition of independent worlds and former imperial territories dedicated to peaceful coexistence. The Accord, inspired by Earth's resistance and unity, became a platform for resolving conflicts and fostering collaboration across species. As a gesture of goodwill, the Empire invited Earth to join the Accord. The proposal sparked intense debate among humanity's leaders, some wary of entangling alliances, while others saw it as an opportunity to shape the galaxy's future. In the end, Earth accepted the invitation, sending representatives to the Accord's first summit. Held on a neutral world, the summit brought together delegates from dozens of species, each carrying the hopes and aspirations of their people. Among Earth's delegation were Colonel Vasquez and Dr. Patel, their presence a reminder of the resilience and ingenuity that had defined humanity's struggle. The summit was not without its challenges. Differences in culture, priorities, and history created friction among the delegates. But through dialogue and compromise, common ground was found. The Galactic Accord, though imperfect, represented a step toward a more unified galaxy. For Tar-Rex, the summit was a moment of quiet vindication. Watching the proceedings from his seat among the Empire's delegation, he felt a sense of fulfillment. The lessons of Earth's resistance, the importance of humility, adaptability, and unity had not been lost. As the summit concluded, a resolution was passed to establish a permanent council for the Accord. The council, headquartered on a newly constructed station orbiting a peaceful star, would serve as a forum for diplomacy and collaboration. Earth, as a founding member, was granted a seat on the council, its voice now part of the galaxy's collective future. Back on Earth, life gradually returned to normal. The advancements spurred by the war, innovations in technology, medicine, and communication were harnessed to improve daily life. The resilience and unity that had carried humanity through the conflict became the foundation for a new era of progress. For Marcus Kane and Elena Vasquez, the end of the war marked the beginning of new chapters. Kane retired to a quiet life in the countryside, his days filled with reflection and storytelling. Vasquez, meanwhile, took on a role in Earth's diplomatic efforts, her experience in the resistance guiding her work on the Galactic Accord. As for Tar-Rex, his role in the Empire's transformation continued to evolve. He became an ambassador to the Accord, his efforts bridging divides and fostering understanding between species. Though his scars bore witness to the Empire's past, his actions shaped its future. In the quiet moments of his later years, Tar-Rex often reflected on the war and its aftermath. He thought of the courage and ingenuity of Earth's resistance, the lessons learned through hardship, and the possibilities that lay ahead. And though his heart was heavy with the memories of loss, it was also filled with hope. The galaxy, vast and diverse, remained a place of challenges and uncertainties. But as the stars shone over a new era of cooperation, one truth endured: the resilience of the human spirit and the power of unity in the face of adversity could light even the darkest corners of the void. As the Galactic Accord grew, its influence spread to regions once dominated by conflict and exploitation. The coalition's mission, to foster peace, cooperation, and mutual understanding, resonated with worlds that had long suffered under the shadow of imperial conquest. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy began to glimpse the possibility of a future defined not by power but by partnership. Earth, despite its relatively recent emergence on the interstellar stage, became a beacon of inspiration. The resilience demonstrated during the war, coupled with the ingenuity of its people, earned humanity a unique place in the galaxy's cultural and political landscape. Earth's representatives played a key role in shaping the Accord's policies, advocating for inclusivity and the protection of weaker worlds. One of the Accord's most ambitious initiatives was the Stellar Reconstruction Program, a galaxy-wide effort to rebuild war-torn planets and restore ecosystems devastated by conflict. Earth's experience in post-war recovery proved invaluable, its engineers and scientists contributing innovations that accelerated progress across dozens of worlds. Colonel Elena Vasquez, now Earth's ambassador to the Accord, became a prominent voice for justice and cooperation. Her speeches, infused with the passion and conviction of a soldier-turned-diplomat, inspired delegates from across the stars. "We are strongest when we stand together," she often said, her words echoing the spirit of the resistance that had once united humanity. Among those who found renewed purpose in the Accord was Marcus Kane. Though retired from active service, he became a mentor to young leaders, sharing the hard-won lessons of Earth's struggle. His stories, filled with the grit and determination that had defined the resistance, became legendary, their impact shaping the next generation of diplomats and strategists. For General Tar-Rex, the transformation of the galaxy was both a triumph and a vindication. As an ambassador to the Accord, he traveled tirelessly, forging alliances and bridging divides. His efforts earned him the respect of allies and former adversaries alike, his name becoming synonymous synonymous with wisdom and diplomacy. One of Terex's most profound moments came during a summit on Unity Prime, the Accord's new capital. Addressing a gathering of delegates, he spoke of the lessons learned from Earth's resistance and the importance of humility in leadership. "We are all shaped by our histories," he said, his voice steady and resonant. "But history is not destiny. The choices we make define the futures we create. Let us choose collaboration over conquest, understanding over arrogance, and hope over fear." The speech received a standing ovation, its message resonating with a galaxy eager to move beyond the scars of its past. On Earth, life flourished in the wake of the war. Advances in technology and medicine improved quality of life, while the unity forged during the conflict continued to guide the planet's development. Humanity's newfound role as a galactic participant brought opportunities and challenges, but the spirit of the resistance remained a guiding light. One of the most symbolic moments came with the construction of the Harmony Monument, a collaborative project between Earth and the Accord. The monument, a towering structure of crystal and metal, was unveiled on Earth's surface during a ceremony attended by representatives from every member world. Its design, inspired by the resilience and diversity of the galaxy, became a testament to the possibilities of unity. As the years turned to decades, the legacy of the war endured. Stories of Earth's resistance were passed down through generations, their lessons shaping the values and aspirations of humanity. The Galactic Accord, though not without its challenges, stood as a testament to the power of cooperation, its influence reshaping the galaxy's future. For Tarex, the twilight of his life brought a sense of peace. He spent his final years on Unity Prime, his days filled with quiet reflection and the company of those he had inspired. In his memoirs, he wrote of the war's lessons and the hope that had emerged from its ashes. "Humanity taught us that strength lies not in domination, but in resilience and ingenuity," he wrote. "They showed us that even in the darkest moments, there is light to be found in unity. It is a lesson I will carry with me, always." When Tarex passed away, his legacy was celebrated across the galaxy. Memorials were held on Earth and Unity Prime, the events attended by delegates, dignitaries, and citizens from countless worlds. His name, once a symbol of the Empire's might, became a beacon of hope and wisdom. As the stars continued to shine over a galaxy transformed, the story of Earth's resistance and the Galactic Accord's formation stood as a reminder of what could be achieved through determination, collaboration, and the unwavering belief in a brighter future. In the century that followed the war, the Galactic Accord became a cornerstone of peace and progress. Its council chambers, bustling with delegates from countless worlds, echoed with debates, agreements, and the forging of alliances that reshaped the galaxy. Earth's contributions to the Accord continued to grow. Its representatives, drawing on the lessons of the resistance, became champions of justice and innovation. New technologies, inspired by Earth's ingenuity, revolutionized interstellar travel, agriculture, and medicine. The planet's cultural exports, art, music, literature, enriched the galaxy's collective identity, bridging divides and fostering understanding. Among the most enduring legacies of the Accord was the establishment of the Stellar Academy, an institution dedicated to educating future leaders from every corner of the galaxy. Located on Unity Prime, the Academy became a beacon of learning and collaboration, its halls filled with students who dreamed of a better future. One of the Academy's most cherished traditions was the annual Unity Lecture, a series of talks honoring the visionaries who had shaped the Accord's foundation. The lectures, delivered by esteemed figures from across the galaxy, often reflected on the lessons of Earth's resistance and the war's profound impact. During the Centennial Unity Lecture, Colonel Elena Vasquez, now a revered elder stateswoman, addressed a packed audience in the Academy's grand auditorium. Her voice, though softened by age, carried the same conviction that had guided her during the resistance. "We stood on the brink of annihilation," she said, her gaze sweeping over the audience. "And yet, we found strength in our unity, hope in our resilience, and purpose in our defiance. These are the lessons we must carry forward, for they are the foundation of everything we have built together." The applause that followed was thunderous, a testament to the enduring power of her words. On Earth, the Harmony Monument became a site of pilgrimage, its presence a reminder of the planet's journey from the brink of destruction to a place of influence and hope. Visitors from across the galaxy came to see the monument, their stories intertwining with those of the humans who had inspired it. For Marcus Kane, the twilight of his life was spent in quiet reflection. In the countryside home where he had retired, he often entertained visitors, young leaders eager to learn from his experiences. His stories, filled with the grit and determination that had defined the resistance, became part of the galaxy's shared history. In his final years, Kane penned a memoir titled Shadows and Light: The Earth Resistance and the Galactic Accord. The book, a mix of personal anecdotes and and historical analysis, became a bestseller, its pages offering insights into the conflict that had reshaped the galaxy. When Kane passed away, his memorial was attended by dignitaries, resistance veterans, and citizens from countless worlds. Vasquez, now one of the last surviving leaders of the resistance, delivered the eulogy. "Marcus taught us that courage is not the absence of fear," she said, her voice steady despite her grief. "It is the determination to stand against the darkness, no matter the cost." His legacy will live on in every act of defiance, every stand for justice, and every step toward unity. The galaxy mourned his loss, yet celebrated the light he had brought to its darkest hour. As the decades turned to centuries, the story of Earth's resistance and the formation of the Galactic Accord became legend. The names of those who had fought, negotiated, and inspired were etched into the annals of history, their deeds a guiding star for future generations. And though the galaxy continued to face challenges, new conflicts, new uncertainties, the spirit of unity endured. The resilience and ingenuity of humanity, the wisdom of leaders like Tar-X, and the determination of those who refused to yield became a testament to what was possible when differences were set aside in pursuit of a common goal. As the stars shone brightly over a galaxy transformed, their light carried the echoes of a story that would never fade, a story of resilience, unity, and the enduring hope for a brighter future. As the Galactic Accord reached its bicentennial, its legacy was celebrated with a galaxy-wide festival of unity. Events were held on every member world, from concerts and art exhibitions to forums and cultural exchanges. The festival culminated in a grand ceremony on Unity Prime, attended by leaders, citizens, and dignitaries from across the stars. At the heart of the ceremony was the unveiling of the Starbridge Monument, a towering structure designed to symbolize the connections forged through the Accord. Its spires, reaching into the heavens, were inscribed with the names of the visionaries who had made the Accord possible, including those who had led Earth's resistance. During the ceremony, a holographic presentation recounted the story of the war and its aftermath, drawing on records, memoirs, and testimonies from those who had lived through it. The audience watched in rapt attention as the images of Marcus Kane, Elena Vasquez, and General Tar-X filled the air, their voices narrating the choices and sacrifices that had defined their era. For the galaxy, the story was not just a chronicle of the past. It was a reminder of the values that bound them together. The lessons of resilience, adaptability, and cooperation became guiding principles for a new generation of leaders, their commitment to unity a beacon for the future. On Earth, the festival was marked by a series of commemorative events, including a special performance at the Harmony Monument. Musicians and artists from every member world came together to create a symphony of unity, their melodies weaving a tapestry of hope and connection. As the final notes echoed across the monument's grounds, the audience rose to their feet, their applause a testament to the power of collaboration. Among them were children and elders, resistance veterans and new arrivals, all united by the story that had brought them together. In the quiet that followed, a young child turned to their parent and asked, "Will the stars always remember us?" The parent, their gaze fixed on the monument's glowing spires, smiled softly. "The stars remember everything," they said, "but it's up to us to keep their light alive." As the festival drew to a close, the galaxy looked to the future with renewed hope. The story of Earth's resistance, the wisdom of General Tar-X, and the unity forged through the Galactic Accord remained a testament to what could be achieved when the barriers of fear and arrogance were overcome. And as the stars continued to shine, their light carried the echoes of a promise that even in the vastness of the cosmos, unity was possible and hope was eternal.